Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Journey Through GL podcast. I'm your host, Thomas. Thank you for coming along on the journey with me. Welcome to week 6 of the journey. This has been an interesting week, not just for Thai GL related things, but things outside of Thai GL. If I haven't already said this, I reside in the United States, and we recently had July 4th, which I'm not going to talk about that a whole ton because I don't know which countries my audience is from, but I stayed up pretty late watching the fireworks. It was raining outside where I am the night of July 4th, so I couldn't watch the fireworks in my hometown. So instead, I just watched the news and I watched the fireworks in New York City. They played some really interesting songs. They played Carry On My Wayward Son, Cotton Eye Joe. Of course, they played Stars and Stripes Forever. America the Beautiful is another one. They played This Land Is Your Land. A lot of really good songs. Rock in the USA and Born in the USA. I really enjoyed those ones. On top of that, I've also just been working a ton of hours. I work in retail and I'm technically part time, but this week, out of from Monday through Saturday, actually, I worked on Sunday too. There was a period where I worked 6 days in a row, and then Wednesday was my only day off, and then I worked Thursday and Friday, and then this Saturday and Sunday, I had completely off. And usually I was working 8 hours, and I was closing every single time. I was from 1:30 to 9:30, and that gets really hard. It gets difficult to rewatch things, but I managed to do it. And in addition to that, I've been reading The Odyssey by Homer in preparation for watching Christopher Nolan's new movie, The Odyssey, coming out on July 17th. So I'm really looking forward to that. The Odyssey is really an interesting book. It doesn't start off the way that I thought that it would. It does get to Odysseus at some points, but for the first 4 chapters or so, it's pretty much all Telemachus, who is Odysseus's son. I'm still reading it. I'm not all the way through yet, but I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really, really interested to see how the Odyssey is in comparison to the book. The final trailer for the Odyssey is actually the most disliked movie trailer on YouTube in the history of movie trailers on YouTube, which I don't know. That might cause some people to not go see it. I'm still going to see it, and I'll probably give my thoughts at some point, in a short segment. But with that said, this has been another week of rewatching. It was a series that I was very scared to rewatch. I'm going to get to that in a little bit, but for now, we have the news segment. There's not a whole lot to talk about, but for what there is, there's quite a lot. And let's get the biggest thing out of the way, the biggest news of this week. Pam Our Huang Pam is officially over. Pam, after 5 years with Headliner, it marked the end of her contract, and Headliner was actually the ones that held the couple contract between Our Huang and Pam. It was not Mind Media. It was not D. She had nothing to do with the couple, although a lot of people blamed her. At one point, I blamed her too. But now, ever since the announcement that Pam has left Headliner, her and Our Huang have been in contact or interacting on social media. They had a lot of Twitter interactions. Ar Huang did her own separate, thank you for everything. And she commented on Pam's goodbye post with Headliner. And they seem to be doing well. I'm guessing that Headliner had something that they couldn't interact online on social media unless it was like an official couple thing or attending an event, something like that, which would explain a lot. Personally, I thought that the situation could have been handled a lot better, especially with Ar Huang and Mind Media's side, because Dee was really pushing Zara with Ar Huang, which made people think that she was trying to separate the ship herself. And when she made a tweet like, "Hello, Ar Huang fans, this is Zara, please be kind to her," something like that, and then Ar Huang dyeing her hair blonde, that just was a recipe for disaster. But Pam seems to be doing really good. It seems like she does still want to make GLs. There's been some rumors that she might be going to GMM TV. It's not been confirmed. I think it was just a fan that said, "What if this happens?" And a lot of people have suddenly been shipping her with Piploy, which Piploy gets shipped with everybody. Piploy has been shipped with Earn, with Jamie, with Nisha, who just signed with GMM TV, and now she's being shipped with Pam. This just goes to show how longing we are for seeing Piploy as the main lead in a GL. The closest that we've gotten is Whale Store, and she was a back burner in that. And that's when the whole Jing Jing Piploy ship started, which I was supportive of. I wanted them in Enemies with Benefits, but we got a different couple for Enemies, and I'm really happy that we did, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The second thing for the news segment is something that happened with Enjoy. It seemed like she had left Channel 3 because she was not part of the Girls' Cup lineup, but now apparently she is part of the Girls' Cup and she's on the pink team. I'm not sure what's up with that. Enjoy herself said in a live that she's no longer with Channel 3, but now it seems like she might be participating in the Girls' Cup. I'm not sure. I don't know a whole lot about it. I was for sure that she had left Channel 3, and I just found out that today she might be part of the Girls' Cup, so I'm not 100% sure with that. The next thing is Lena has said in an interview that their series Please Love is about 30% finished and it will come sometime around September, mid-September, which will make it a late 2026 GL. And it does sound like Please Love will be the next Channel 3 GL to come after In Love Forever wraps. In Love Forever ends on like September 5th, I think. So that would be right around the time that Please Love will start premiering, which I think will be really good. Next, Velcurve Studio, who produced Love Design and Uranus 2324, announced that they will be releasing a special version of Uranus 2324, which may include some more scenes, some hidden deleted scenes that might be added, and it might add some more context to the film. I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Uranus 2324. I've watched it one time and I gave it a 5 out of 10. We'll see what happens during the rewatch, but if it does add more context, maybe I'll watch that version for the rewatch, and hopefully it will be better than a 5 out of 10 for me. Lastly, for the news segment, something that nobody was expecting, Grace from Mate the Series is officially returning to GL, but it does not seem like it's going to be with Oi. At least we don't know for sure yet. Zen's Media released a short teaser for a new series called Always Remember, and we don't know who Grace's partner is in it. Some people think that the partner looks like Oi. We have not seen the other girl's face yet. Personally, if it is Oi, I think that would be amazing, but I doubt that it is. But I'm really glad that we're going to see Grace in a GL again. She was one of my favorite parts of Mate, and I like Mate quite a lot. It was in my top 10 at the end of 2025, so I'm looking forward to seeing her in another GL. Next up, for the currently airing segment, we got the first episode of AI Girl this week. This was really anticipated after the end of Love Beyond Dreams. When this series first got announced, a lot of people were kind of put off at the idea of falling in love with an AI robot. I gave it a shot, and I quite like it. It is funny. It moves at a decent pace. I'm confused about some things, which I'm sure will be explained later on in the series. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen the first episode of AI Girl. I do not understand how the robot I has the face of a real girl when Jen claims that she drew and came up with the face all by herself based off of something that she saw in a dream. So maybe she was dreaming of I, or maybe she was dreaming of that scientist girl. I don't understand it. I really don't. If it is a dream situation, that's just, I don't know, romantic, creepy, one of the two. I is honestly exactly how I would expect an AI robot to be. She's a little sassy. The end scene when Jen gave her the name I for I liked when I said, "Thank you very much for the name," even though you didn't put any thought into it at all. Like, she's grateful but snarky, which means that she does have at least a few human traits and emotions to her. I'm wondering where she's going now that she left the house. We might have saw in the trailer for episode 2, but I don't remember the trailer for episode 2. It was almost half a week ago. So let's see what happens with the second episode. Next, we got episode 3 and 4 of My Lady's Bodyguard. This is the new Ormfolk series. It follows the 10-minute episode format once again. It seems to be a reoccurring theme with Kongthop, which makes me a little worried for Lovebound, which will be coming this November, whether that will be proper length episodes or 10-minute episodes. But I'm surprisingly enjoying My Lady's Bodyguard so far. I like all of the cultural significance in it. The only other super culturally significant GL that we've gotten out of Thailand is the Loyal Pin. So it's nice to see another one, even if it's a little bit shorter. This series kind of reminds me of Mulan in a way, where Orm's character Kao is pretending to be a guy to join the military, but she ends up being the bodyguard for Roon Kim, who is Volk's character in this series. She's like daughter of the village chief, like lord situation. I don't know. It's like Moana mixed with Mulan, if that makes any sense to you at all. I liked episode 3 and 4. The flower scene was unexpected. I don't think that Room Kim was actually expecting Kale to be able to find that flower. So maybe that might be the first, progression of romance thing that we're seeing in this GL. I think this GL has 12 episodes total. So we'll have to see what happens. What happened at the end of episode 4 and what was the trailer of the next episode, if there was one, I could not tell you at all. But I'm enjoying it for what it is. But episode 3 of In Love Forever. This series continues to surprise me. Again, I am just shocked at how much I am enjoying this series. I I love Runch, I love Neen. I hate her mom, and I'm supposed to. I don't like that she's trying to set Runch up with another girl while she is already married. I do really like, however, that they both see like they care about each other and they want to rekindle their love, but they just don't know how to, and Neen just can't put up with Runch's mom at all, which I wouldn't be able to either if I was Neen. I'm going to be honest. But Neen's family trying to rekindle their love so they don't go through with the divorce, I loved that. I loved that the grandparents were in on it. And the birthday surprise that Runch made for Neen was so romantic. And finally, at the end of this episode, we got a good Lingorm kiss, which I've stopped caring about the Lingorm kisses. If they're bad at kissing, they're bad at kissing. I don't care. I'm really loving In Love Forever a lot. This is the series that I look forward to the most each week right now. I'm just enjoying it. I'm savoring every single moment of this series. I can't wait for next episode when Runch finally tells her mom off for hurting Neen's feelings. That will probably be the first time in a while that Neen really sees Runch stand up for her and stand her ground and protect her. So that's going to be amazing to see. Chasing Love episode 6 also happens the same day as In Love Forever. And Chasing Love, I'm starting to like a little bit more. With all these series, it's kind of hard to remember what happens each and every episode. But with this episode, it was Pyong running away from home and getting like lost in the rain because she needed to buy groceries, and Song finding her and like not fully realizing her feelings, but allowing herself to fall in love after what people told her that she needs to let go of the past and that Nung probably would have wanted her to be happy. And it was really fun to see. Song purchasing or renting a room across from Pyong, that's like ultimate loser lover girl behavior. And being caught out front of the door accidentally when she wasn't supposed to, she was just trying to like check up on Pyong. That was hilarious. I loved that. Pyong is finally starting to like get through to Song. But what I didn't like is the drama between Pimud and the oh my gosh, I keep forgetting her name. The the other girl, the third couple, Pimud and the other girl, which apparently that girl is the like assistant to Kem from Denied Love, which makes sense because they both kind of act the same way. That drama was very much not appreciated because they have gotten the least screen time out of any of the couples in Chasing Love. So hopefully they can figure things out next episode. But Pyong and Song, they're really fun. Saying don't turn around, but being the first one to turn around, Song is practically head over heels now. She just can't admit it to herself. So Pyong is definitely getting somewhere. And the cafe, the matcha cafe, that was awesome. I loved that scene the most in this episode, I think. Seeing like all of their friends at the cafe and promoting it, seeing people promote it on, I don't know, whatever, Instagram, TikTok, it wasn't said what platform it was. That was really fun. I liked that. Next, we have two finales to talk about. We have the finale for The Heir and the finale for Enemies with Benefits. Let's talk about The Heir first. This was probably the last Freen-Becky series for a while. I can't really see Cranium happening. If it does happen, that will be amazing. But this episode was about an hour and a half long, and it was packed to the brim. Like, it did not slow down at all. If anything, it felt like the episode was going on longer than the actual runtime. Seeing Madeline, seeing the whole Watsing family in Madeline at the palace, including Fa, which I really liked that. I liked that it was the four cousins, the two um, sister-in-laws, and then Fa there as well. I really like that they included her. Sometimes I feel like Fa doesn't get the same treatment as the Watinuinik cousins do because she's kind of the stepsister of Nam, but it was really nice that they included her in that. There was this weird discourse on Twitter when someone like said, "Am I being too woke or is it too heteronormative to have the tops of the like couples wear suits and bow ties and have the bottoms wear fancy dresses?" Which that's really not exactly a fair question because in the Earth, Peden always dresses a little bit more masculine than Rose does. She's not a mask and she's not a butch, but she's a little tiny bit more masculine than Rose. And same with Nam in the water. She's always wearing her suits. I can't actually really think of a time where I don't see her wear some attire that's a little bit more masculine other than maybe the scene when she's at the flower stand like waiting for Lada. And then Lam obviously and Phi obviously. Fa, unfortunately, we don't see too much of her, but we can tell that she does at least dress a tiny bit more masculine. And then Lada does wear a suit and slacks, but that's just because that's her um like work attire uniform that she has to wear. And Rose dresses feminine like quite clearly. So I don't think it's that big of an issue. I don't think it's heteronormative at all. I think that if they I feel like the actresses would have known and spoken their mind about what they wanted to wear in that scene if they thought that what they were wearing wasn't a good idea. I will say the bow ties was an interesting element. I think that it should have been long ties instead, but the bow ties were fine. I liked the scene when like King Arthur was addressing the entire family and Peden was like, "Well, as the oldest in the Watinwinick family, I happily accept the offer to come to Madeline anytime," something like that. I don't remember exactly word for word what she said. This series was really good. Seeing Lam actually in like serious action as opposed to the other series. The only action that we really saw in the water was the hotel raid, and the action that we saw in the earth was like episode 3 when she first appeared, and something later on in the series with the gunfight between Wasu and the others. But seeing true action was amazing. Becky remains to be a fantastic actress. The eye acting between the two of them never gets old. They never change. They never really evolve and change, which I think is really nice because it means that they're reliable, but it could also potentially limit them. But I don't think it really will. I like Free and Becky's work. I can't entirely say that I'm the biggest Free and Becky fan of all, but I do really like their work. I would probably give this series overall an 8 out of 10. However, it is for sure my least favorite Four Elements series that we've gotten. The two others have been a 9 out of 10 or above. Actually, they've both been a 9 out of 10. The Water is my number 1 with a 9 out of 10, and the Earth is my number 2 also with a 9 out of 10. Unfortunately, Air did fall just a tiny, tiny bit short, but these characters are both total green flags. Seeing Blue give up her royal title and agree to be a commoner just to be with Lam, that was ultimate green flag behavior. We have never seen that before in a GL. Anin threatened to do it in the loyal pin, but it didn't actually happen. I I just loved it. I love Blue in this last episode. The first snowfall scene was amazing. I just wish that Helena survived. That's the one thing. And yes, Helena doesn't survive in the book. I know that. But it would have been really nice if she survived. But yeah, I would give The Air an 8 out of 10 overall. I liked it. It's not my favorite Four Elements show, but I liked it. I would also give an 8 out of 10 to Enemies with Benefits. Now, I know that this series is loved by a lot of people. A lot of people have been calling this the best Thai GL of 2026, which I don't think it's all that because I'm just not that big of a rom-com person. Jan Jingjing sold the show completely. Kapuk Saisi as well were an incredible addition. I'm just not big of a rom-com person, but I do really love Enemies with Benefits. And I just ate my words so hard when I doubted Jan Jingjing. I really wanted Jingjing Piploy for this initially. I wanted Jingjing as Lao and Piploy as Wine. Now that I'm watching Enemies with Benefits, I've tried to imagine those two as those roles, and it just doesn't work. Jan Jingjing are literally Lao and Wine pulled straight out of the book, both on the front cover and in the actual story. It is amazing. Seeing both of them in their interactions, I will say that what I think gets the most people excited about Enemies with Benefits are the spicy scenes, which there were a little bit too many benefits scenes and not as many enemies scenes as I would have liked to see. But it just shows that they are not really afraid to go the extra mile. Same with Kapuk Saizi. Kapuk Saizi were the freakiest couple at Blush Blossom, and the yogurt scene in episode 1 of Enemies with Benefits remains to be the freakiest scene that I have ever seen in a Thai GL, except for maybe episode 4 of Love Beyond Dreams. But I think that the yogurt scene still tops it. I mean, that was a dream. That wasn't even reality. That was a dream that Lao was having. So that's just wild and crazy. I posted my final thoughts on my TikTok, so I have more stuff to talk about there. But yeah, Enemies with Benefits would be an 8 out of 10 for me. However, the series is technically not complete because we do have a special episode. A lot of people consider special episodes to be kind of an epilogue or the dessert of the main course, but nope. If there is a special episode for any series, regardless of how long it will be after the base series ends, the series is not over, the story is not over, because the special episode is the end if there is one. And right now we only have 5. There's Love Senior, Denied Love, Poisonous Love, Love Design, and Claire Bell, kind of. But now we are getting a special episode for Enemies with Benefits, which I really like. Okay, now moving on to the series of the week. This series was Blank. It was produced by 9 Star Entertainment, which they have had some issues in the past. The couple of the series is Phi Yoko, RIP. Actually, I never really liked them in the first place. This series is based off of a novel by Chow Planoy, and this is the second Chow Planoy novel to be adapted into a series. And we will see another one in 2 weeks with My Marvelous Dream Is You. Blank released on March 2nd, 2024. It is the very first 2024 Thai GL. I just spent the past week rewatching all 12 episodes of Blank the series. My initial score when I first watched it a year ago was a 5 out of 10. My updated score for Blank the series, Nung Song Sam, 6.36 out of 10. It did improve. I liked it quite a bit more than the first time watching it, which I was really not expecting to happen. I was expecting it to, if anything, lower, but I quite liked it. Now, I'm not sure what the timeline of this story is compared to Gap. Obviously, Gap and Blank are produced by 2 different companies, but the characters are the same and it takes place within the same universe. In Blank, it's meant to assume that it's been 4 years since Kunung left the home after her wedding, but it never mentions that grandmother burned Nung's paintings. Also, in Gap, that series takes place, I think, 2 years after Kun Song dies, but it's not mentioned that time frame in Blank. But we do hear mention of Song from Kunung and Sam when they are together. I just wish that Ice, who plays um, Sam in this series, had taken more inspiration from Freen's version of Sam, because they don't act or talk the same at all, really. Marissa definitely seems like she took inspiration and studied Becky's version of Mon to play Mon in Blank, straight down to the voice too, which was very impressive. I've got no clue as well if it's ever mentioned in the Gap novel of a wedding that Kunung ran away from, but I've not read any novel except for Affair. It's not a big issue that really matters very much because it's different companies and these episodes are quite short compared to Gap, but it's like the mega fan of connected universes in me that's just a little bit annoyed. I've got some notes here and some thoughts that I'll come up along the way with like every 2 episodes or so. So let's get started. For me, the first 2 episodes weren't anything too special. I'd say that after episode 2, I was moderately entertained by it. I had, of course, already seen the show, so I knew everything about Anung and why she was the way she was. But I feel like throughout these 2 episodes, the way she acts towards Kunung is a little too kiddie and childlike, despite her situation. And the reason I say that is because we see that Anung can be serious and act her age when she needs to or wants to, but she always acts kiddie around Kunung. Maybe as a way to seem cuter and get Kunung to fall for her more. Not exactly sure, but that's just my 2 cents on it. This is the first episodes that we see Sam and Mon. Again, I'm not exactly sure of the timeline of it because in this series it mentions that they're girlfriends and not wives, but since this series takes place after Gap, I'm guessing they are already wives and it might be a translation issue. I'm not sure. A noticeable thing that I really liked is the acting is very good for both Fi and Yoko. Fi captures every small detail in Kunung, such as when she sees Anung without glasses for the first time, she starts to waver and get lost in a daze for a moment, as if she's like seeing the real Anung for the first time. But it also could be because Anung canonically looks similar to her friend who is Anung's mom. So that could just be the thing. With the end of episode 2, I didn't like how harsh Kunung was on Anung because she forgets that she's still a kid and not as emotionally stable as an adult. But overall, these first 2 episodes were not as painful to watch as I assumed that they would be. One small side note that I picked up is I really liked the inclusion of the novel of Pluto. It's the one that Anung is reading in the series, and it's the only connection that Pluto has to any of the other series that are adapted from the novels by Chao Planoy, because the series Pluto has no connections in it, and no other series connects to it besides this one detail. That's what I have for episode 1 and 2. Episode 3 and 4, I remember the ending scene of episode 3 and starting scene of episode 4 is one of my favorite scenes in the entire series. Kunung has a bulldozer train of emotions and realization hit her from every direction as she realizes, or rather is told, that Anung was almost not born because of her and that she is the reason she had to start school late and needs thick glasses and acts so childish is because of the mixture drink that Kunung gave her friend to try to get rid of her unborn child. Ouch. Now, all of a sudden, Kunung cares deeply about Anung and is so thankful that she was born and that she is alive. And that guilt is probably tearing her apart so much at this point because when she was getting ready to leave the event and she ran into Anung, she couldn't even bring herself to say anything remotely coherent because her mind was processing thoughts faster than she could say them. All she could do was stare at the little girl that loves her, the same one that was almost not born because of her. At least that's what we think at the time. At the end of episode 4, we find out that what Fa told Kunung was not true, and that Kunung was not the reason Anung was almost not born. But Anung chose to not tell that detail to Kunung. I'm not sure why, though. I also really dislike Chet in episode 4 because he just found out that he has a daughter and now suddenly he is wanting to be a father for her and keeps calling her his daughter in conversation as if this won't be a big change for Anung since she has never met either of her parents in her life. Both of her parents need to use better judgment, and Kunung also needed a backbone to say no to Chet and Folk when they asked to come to the amusement park trip. But overall, I still enjoyed that episode. For the moments, really just between Kunung and Anung, but the parents and Anung's grandma really just annoy me. Episode 5 and 6, however, Fa and Chet start to piss me off just so much. They have never once been a part of their daughter's life, and now all of a sudden, when Fa comes back to Thailand after 20 years, she wants to uproot her daughter's entire life and move her to America because Mommy Dearest knows best. And Chet is trying to. She's. He just annoys me. He's trying way too hard to have a relationship with Anung, whom he didn't even know existed after probably a month ago at this point. But what is really nice to see is that we finally got Kunung being jealous, even if it was subtle and small, it was still jealousy nevertheless. Although Kunung is better at handling jealousy than Anung is. Anung will see Kunung with Sam and get upset even though she's just her sister. And now she gets upset and jealous when she sees Kunung with Juan, which Juan is just so butchered in this series to what her character should be, at least by what she is in Affair. She would never have blown a kiss to Kunung like that and spoken so seductively like that. When Juan was leaving after dropping Kunung off, She was basically saying, "Call me for sex anytime, baby." But I did like that one said, "If you disappear on me," etc. I don't remember exactly what she said because Blank disappeared on her. And I believe that at this point in the story, Blank happens before Affair, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, I haven't read any novels besides Affair, so I don't know how Juan acts in the Blank novel, but the way that Juan acts and speaks in Blank compared to what she's supposed to be in Affair just annoys me so much. But back to these two episodes. I don't understand why Kunung won't let herself be happy and open up that she loves Anung, even after the night after the funeral. And that's just what annoys me the most. But maybe she's thinking in terms of their age gap. Plus, one night stands happen all the time, I guess. Speaking of the funeral, it finally felt like we were seeing the Kunung from Gap in Phai's version of Kunung. In Gap, Kunung was taught to put on a fake smile whenever she was feeling stressed, and we saw her in the hospital smiling like that, even though she was saying that she wanted to make sure grandmother died. And Sam feeling genuinely sad and upset that grandmother passed away was the same as I imagine it would be. But Sam living in grandmother's old home instead of living with Mon in her house that they live in together, that annoyed me a lot because it's just so out of Sam's character. Now, again, it's two different companies making these shows, I know, but can we at least just like have a little bit of tiny consistent details? That's all that I ask. Something funny that Phai does is anytime that her and Freen interact in real life, she always calls her Tolek, how Kunung calls Sam. Phai at this point just remains to be my favorite part of the series, and she definitely captures Kunung so grand. And I'm not really separating Blank between season one and season two because it's all Blank, the series, and season two doesn't have a time jump after season one. So episodes seven and eight are the start of season two, and these episodes made me ridiculously uncomfortable. The kisses are super, super loud, and the noises are exaggerated. Maybe some are too into that, but me personally, I'm not. Also, I just didn't like how each time that the two of them began kissing, all background music would go silent for like 2 to 5 seconds, and then a background track would play. In episode 6, when they kissed, it was a very iconic background track for Thai GLs now, and it's often played in Thai GLs nowadays. And there was also some type of instrumental backing track of Be My Boo, which is a Yoko song. And it was either like a piano arrangement or some type of R&B synthesizer arrangement of the song, which isn't a bad thing. It's just very noticeable. Be My Boo is actually played a lot in these two episodes. Actually, now that I think about it, the rest of the series just has Be My Boo played a lot. Um, it's probably honestly my favorite OST from the series now that I think about it. I liked Sam and Mon in this episode a lot as well. And again, it is very clear that Marissa studied Becky's Mon a lot, but I don't know if Ice studied Freen's Sam, but it's fine. We saw Juan for the first time in the last episode of Blank Season 1, and now she's here again. And seeing Juan has been really fun in these two episodes, even if she's in them for such a limited time. And Affair hadn't released at this point, so Noom technically played the first version of Juan, but with the episodes of Blank, they aren't even very long compared to some episodes for other GLs. But I kept wanting these episodes and the rest of the episodes to be over sooner rather than later. I didn't skip any scenes, but man, I wanted to so much. The scene of Chet interrogating Yui was so uncomfortable and unenjoyable to watch. I hated it so much, and I just don't understand why I was feeling so uncomfortable seeing Kunung and Anung close together or in bed together. Like, they're both adults and they both clearly love each other despite their age gap. But I think that my issue is just how young Yoko looks. She has an extremely cute and childish face, which doesn't work to her character's favor in this series. I can't say that I wanted no progression of romance, but it was so uncomfortable for me to watch. Episodes 9 and 10 is where it got even worse because, oh man, what happened in episodes 9 and 10 actually? Um, Damn, I actually have no idea what to talk about for these episodes. They were surprisingly mid. Not bad, if I remember, but just not anything special. Even the notes I have, I don't even think that they're well, I was definitely checking how much time was left on the episodes quite often between these two, so I guess that shows how boring they were for me and how uninterested in them I was. The kiss scenes in these episodes were very quite adult, but not in the sense that it's adult in terms of nudity, because there's no nudity in Thai GLs. Episode 9 is when Kunung finds Anung at the vacation house and they make out, and it was very mature and choreographed extremely well. But I still felt a bit uncomfortable, and I just don't know why at this point. But I definitely have to say that it was done really good, and their kisses are loud, 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 loud. But then we get more homophobia from Chet, and more homophobia from grandmother even in these episodes and the next few, which we're going to be seeing a lot of homophobia in like blank from here on out, episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12. It's something that gets old fast, and we get a lot of homophobia in Thai GLs even, and up until like these 2026 ones. Strangely enough, the like how do I want to say this? It tends to lead to third act breakups and a lot of angst, which I like that in Thai GLs, but I don't like the homophobia in Thai GLs. But the angst hadn't happened yet in these episodes. It's only in the last two. My question is, how in the hell did someone figure out that Anung is the one that runs that podcast? But honestly, I do understand her situation a little bit, probably because she knows her family would react poorly to it as well. Um, Yeah, wow. I have absolutely nothing to talk about for these two episodes. Whole ton of nothing. That's what they were. The last two episodes were a little bit better. I still hate the homophobia from Chet and the grandmother. Fa is a little bit better because she's not opposed to Anung being with a girl. She just doesn't want it to be Kunung. Still not great, but at least not homophobic. I thought that the radio love confessions were extremely cute, and Kunung calling the station to speak is a lot of character development with her, but also might show just how broken she is. She had repeatedly said that she was not into that radio station and she didn't want to listen, but now she herself is the one calling to share her story because it's eating her from the inside out. These two episodes were ultimate tests of their love, and they came out on top of it. I thought that the ending scene with the two of them 16 years later was a little bit strange to include. I don't know if it's in the novel or not, but it does help show that their love lasted forever, and it was actually a terrifically beautiful last scene. Probably the best last scene up to this point that I've been rewatching. I think the second best would be Love Senior, but I like Love Senior a lot more than I like this. I was actually thinking about Love Senior a little bit more, and I've started to think that maybe 7.71 is just a little bit lower than I would want to give it. But then I remember episodes 7, 8, 9, and 10, and yeah, I definitely made the right score. I think that Kunung was giving like the 4 years later updates on everyone. I think it was a little bit cool, but it would have been nice if she mentioned Juan and some hints about playing, but that obviously didn't happen. One thing with episode 12 that I just can't exactly get past is why did Anung's family just suddenly become okay with Kunung visiting Anung? None of them were happy with it when the grandmother like first said it, and then just one day she's fine with it, and Fa brings Kunung to the room herself. I don't understand why they just suddenly became all right with it, but whatever. Maybe they saw how committed Kunung was, or they might have had a change of heart about the reason that Anung got hit by the car. Actually, another thing from episode 11 is Anung is such a brat about refusing to go to classes unless Kunung kisses her cheek. Like, can't she be like a little bit more mature? That's actually a reoccurring issue in the series, is Anung is really bratty about refusing to do things unless Kunung is affectionate towards her, or even when Anung kisses her cheek when she brings her home, even though Kunung has repeatedly said to stop. That's something I just really can't stand, but there's not enough of it to make a serious upsetting impact on me. That's really all I have for Blank. It was better than I imagined that it would be on the rewatch, but it's still not a great series. I will say initially I was thinking about giving it a 6.86, but now I'm giving it a 6.36 because I just can't give it that close to a 7 out of 10 personally. Now we move on to the OST of the series, and I'm going to be honest, deciding the OST of the series for Blank has actually been so difficult that I still don't have an answer, but I have it down to two, so let me just quick re-listen to them and I'll cut back here with my answer and explanation. All right, I have my answer. Some of y'all will not be too happy with this, but let me remind you of the criteria for the OST of the series. The lyrics need to have definite meaning and connection to the series and the characters, plural, within them. In addition, it matters how often the OST is played in the series, regardless if it is just an instrumental or a different instrument arrangement of the song. With that said, and this was a very hard choice, the OST of the series for Blank is Be My Boo by Yoko. I was very, very close to picking Fill in the Blank with the word love, which is the OST that Phi sings during season 1. The lyrics are like Tatum kamwarak long pai kang nai sheng wang. And this is where it gets really interesting, actually. Blank has about 6 OSTs in total, but only Fill in the Blank with the word love is played during season 1, and all of the others are played during season 2, except for that one. And out of all of the OSTs that are played in season 2, Be My Boo is played the most out of all of them by absolute far. You could hear a different version of Be My Boo every 10 minutes during each season 2 episode, whether it is the music but no vocals, a piano arrangement, a synthesizer arrangement, or hell, even another version of Be My Boo that Phi sings. Kind of. Be My Boo is Yoko's song, and it is a full-length song, but Phi has a short minute and a half OST called You Are the One, and it is dead ass just the chorus of Be My Boo, but arranged slower and strangely seems more like how Kunung would sing it. The chorus is You are the one that's meant for me, my darling, it's true. So would you please let me be and say I love you? No matter how the seasons change, I'm holding you tight and will be right by your side. Now, this is where the lyrics differ here. After Right by Your Side, Yoko sings Please Be My Boo, but Phi's version sings Can You Hear Me? I Love You. But otherwise, it's the exact same chorus. Yoko's version is a faster tempo and different key, which makes it sound more like how Anung would sing it in her head or sing it to Kunung, but You Are the One is slower, and I could hear it as how Kunung would sing it to Anung, but I hope this is the only series where it is this difficult to choose, because every OST, seriously, every one, had lyrics with meaning to the series. So then I just had to go off of how many times it was played in the series and how many different versions there are of it. So yeah, Be My Boo is the OST of the series for Blank. Next, I was able to get one serious cultural notice or aspect within Blank, and that is the Huatake Market, which is the market where Kunung has her art studio and shop. The market is a real place and a very popular tourist destination. The market features common types of attractions like historical, cultural, educational, and recreational. The market was originally a single-story wooden row house built along a canal at the four corners of the Huatake intersection, and there are now over 100 shops. In front of the row house, there is a wooden patio covered with a wide walkway to the canal, and it can be used for docking boats, trading, and shipping. The market is pretty much just like any other market in terms of success. It got to be booming again after a pretty long, lifeless season, and the people at Huatake accompanied together to develop this place in 2009, and they tried to look for a unique spot which could be attractive. Within the market, there's research and development of tourism activities through cooperation with educational institutions. with the use of art as a center to revitalize the market. And the market within it, there are many educational institutions that have collaborated with it, such as the College of Fine Arts Lat Krabang, which is a college in Changsin. I'm really hoping that I'm pronouncing this right. I'm sorry if I'm not. The fire had been the market, had been on fire for 2 times, once in 2013 and once in 2014. I'm getting all of my information from other sources. This is not what I'm writing down. So I apologize if my wording is a little bit choppy, because this is in Thai that is being automatically translated into English. The market had been on fire twice, once in 2013 and 2014. Those situations at those times made the people of the community awaken to solve various problems of the community even more and jointly develop tourism and learning activities of the market. The Huatake Village Learning Center tells a story of the market, the Huatake intersection, cafes and guest houses, homestays, community way of persevering, etc. It has attracted attention from tourists who seek community-style tourist attractions that frequently keep visiting. In the middle of the row house, bridges were built on both sides of the canal. The left side shops mostly sell fresh food such as vegetables and meat. On the right side along the Huatake Canal, there were consumer goods shops as well as agriculture and clothing shops, providing a nice and lively atmosphere. That likely would have been where Kunung would have had her art shop in the series. In the past, it was a major market community. In the past, it was the major market community where people from neighborhoods sell and buy goods. It was quite crowded, especially on Buddhist holy days, and nowadays it has become a big waterfront market along Prawet Buriram Canal and has flourished in the past. That's what I've got for the Huatake market. Again, I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing a lot of stuff. I'm getting this from other sources because I want to make sure that I get things right, and the translation might be at least a little bit wonky. Blank didn't have as many cultural notices and aspects as I really wanted it to, but for what it has, I'm glad that it had this because it was at least something, and it is a real location where we actually see in the series. It seems like they rented out a space in the actual market to place Kunung's shop in and to film the scenes there. And there's not that many scenes at the market for Kunung's shop, but we do see it a significant amount, such as when her and Anung first meet each other. We see it as one of the first scenes in episode 1. We see it when Chet and Folk ask Kunung to take them to the amusement park for Anung's birthday. So there's different places where the market is seen, but it's not seen a whole lot within the series. The only other thing that I could possibly include is when Kunung tells Anung that she should use the suffix ka when addressing elders, because that is just a respect thing that they teach in Thailand. And respect, seniority, respecting your elders, that is a really big thing in Thailand, and they have specific words to address the elders if you are younger than them, which is why Kunung kept repeatedly telling Anung to not be rude and be nice and use the ka suffix. Next, lastly, I have asked a couple friends within the Thai GL community to provide me with some questions, and I'm going to be reading these questions over the course of the next few podcast episodes. Right now, I only have 28 questions, so I'm going to pick 7 to answer today, and I'm going to pick 7 the next episode until I run out, and hopefully by then I will have a lot more questions. I have not taken a look at the questions beforehand, and I am reading them off completely randomly. So if you submitted a question and you do not hear it in this video, do not worry, or episode, sorry. I will read it in a later episode, but I'm just picking 7 randomly today. And if you would like to submit a question, you can comment it on the Spotify page, on the YouTube channel, and I will see it eventually, or you can reach out to me directly. But let's take a look at the first question. Again, I have not seen these yet, so let me pick one randomly. Here we go. Do you think Thai GL is becoming more genuinely lesbian-centered, or is it still often built for a broader fan service audience? Okay, so Thai GL being lesbian centered. I think that there are some that are becoming more lesbian centered and a bit more slice of life. Fulfill is a really big one that I would say is genuinely lesbian centered. I would say that In Love Forever probably is, because seeing Fun and Un become mothers and raise a kid at the end and question their marriage and have hard times, that's actual slice of life stuff. I may not have been the biggest fan of Fulfill, but that was just because of the quality of the series for me. But I really liked seeing them married. I like it that we're getting couples that are already married, such as In Love Forever as well. And while I think that In Love Forever is a little bit far-fetched to be realistic, I think that it is a bit more lesbian centered than some other GLs that we have gotten. Now, for broader fan service audience, I would say that Enemies with Benefits probably tops that the most, because there are a ton of spicy scenes within Enemies with Benefits, and most GLs focus on the story rather than like the actual WLW relationship. But we're starting to see a bit more of a transition with that. Hometown Romance was really good. It kind of had the perfect blend and balance of it. So, yes, I think that Thai GLs are slowly becoming more lesbian centered, but not by much. But we are seeing a few more. Next question. When you rewatch a Thai GL, what's something that you're looking for? When I'm rewatching these Thai GLs, what I am looking for is something that I didn't catch the first time, and I'm going into it with an open mind and not trying to think, okay, is this going to be better than this series? No. Is it going to be better than this series? Maybe. I'm viewing these series as me watching it for the first time, and I'm just keeping a completely open mind with it, which is why before I watch every Thai GL again, I'm watching the original pilot again and putting it on the TikTok page for this podcast. It's the Journey Through GL podcast on TikTok. And the next series is 23.5. And I recently watched the pilot for that, but it won't be on the page until later. So I'm looking for maybe something that piques my interest that I didn't catch the first time around. Maybe because I'm a little bit older, I will see something that I didn't see beforehand. I'm wanting to catch the little details that are really strong for WLW relationships. And I like seeing women as the center of the series instead of men, because we see men as the center very commonly. So I really am just trying to see what I didn't see the first time. I already know what happens and I already remember the like basic outline of it, but I just want to make sure that I got everything and that I'm not just comparing it to another series, because last time I watched most of these series, I watched them in quick haste, one right after another, and I didn't have a lot of time to really think and process them. So I'm just wanting to catch stuff that I didn't catch before. Next question. What Thai GL needs a season 2 because it feels unfinished? Runaway. Without a doubt, Runaway. The ending of Runaway left me completely perplexed and confused. Did Boone suddenly get possessed by Kwam? Is Kwam like forever in Boone's body? Like what happens? I thought that Jean Kwan was banished and they got rid of her, but was the kiss at the end between Win and Boone, was that Kwan and Boone? And Win, sorry. Like I'm so confused. I really like Runaway a lot. It was my fourth favorite late 2025 Thai GL. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's an awesome show. A lot of people like were afraid to watch it because it's horror, but it's not horror. It's psychological thriller, and it is so fun. It's so fun. But Runaway needs a season 2. I don't think it's going to happen, but it just needs a season 2. It felt so unfinished and unsatisfying. Like when I finished the Runaway episode 8, I just was so confused. I didn't know like I don't know if that's the way that the novel ends or not, but if it is, we need a second novel and a season 2 ASAP. Next question. What do you think the biggest challenges affecting the Thai GL industry, particularly what relates to the production quality? I think recently the issue has been just how quickly companies are desperate to get Thai GLs out. In early 2026, we got 15 Thai GLs, which is the most that we have ever gotten in any third of the year. And less than half of them were actually high quality and worth it to watch, which Goes to show that maybe some companies are too desperate to get them out because of the Thai GL boom right now. But we're seeing slowly companies start to realize their mistakes and actually take their time with writing and production and directing and lighting and sound and everything. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. I think also getting it to a more widespread audience is another big issue, but that's not the question. It's specifically talking about production quality, and I would say companies are too desperate to get Thai GLs out, and they're not spending as much time focusing on the little things as they should be. On to the next question. What makes a GL couple feel real to you? Is it the plot, the writing, the tension, the balance between angst and comfort, the way the actresses play the characters, or something else? What makes a GL couple feel real to me is that they don't need to act in order to get the effect of their characters across. That's something that I really like with Look Me and Sonia, is they have that super genuine connection both on and off screen. So sometimes it just doesn't feel like they're acting, and when it does, it just heightens their characters even more. The plot and writing is definitely a big part of it. And that was an issue that a lot of people had with Only You, is even though it's Ling Orm and they have great visual chemistry, a lot of people say that their off-screen chemistry is better than their on-screen chemistry. I don't exactly agree with that, especially with In Love Forever. But the writing and plot couldn't exactly save Only You for a lot of people. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a 7 out of 10, so I'm worried for the rewatch that I'll think it's much lower than a 7 out of 10, but we'll see. What makes a GL couple feel the most real is also if, like, they don't avoid each other. And sometimes that's not always an issue. I'm a big Onda Luke fan from Love Senior, and they don't do fan service like at all. And they interact very little on social media, but I still quite like them and I liked Love Senior. But just making sure that they interact and that it doesn't feel forced, that's what makes a GL couple feel real to me. But within the series, the angst and the emotions that they show is probably what makes it feel the most real to me. Is fan service important to me? Yes, but not to a super extent. I think that what Lena Mew does is probably the best type of fan service that a GL couple could do. They recently had a fan meet in the Philippines, and Lena was being really like dirty minded when the what do you call that person? The interviewer, the moderator, whatever, was asking the girls what their favorite parts of the other one is, and Lena was being so dirty minded. She said that her favorite part was Mew's lips, her butt, something other than that. And when she also, like, when they were doing a whiteboard thing and they said, "What's your favorite late night snack?" Mew just drew an arrow and pointed it at Lena. So that's the type of fan service that I really like. It doesn't need to be over the top, touchy feely, because some of the girls may not fully be comfortable with that. Obviously, Namtan Film have no problem with that, and Englot have also kissed in Paris. Um, Let me think. Namtan Film kissed in Paris, Englot kissed in Paris. I feel like there was another one, but I can't entirely remember it. So, yes, fan service is important to me because it shows that they don't despise working with the other person and that they can work with them if they absolutely need to. Or they not absolutely need to. They want to work with them. It's not like you're forced to work with this person situation and you don't want to be all touchy-feely close up and saying these seductive, slightly things like your favorite part of your co-star is their ass. But I do think that fan service is important to me because it shows that the girls are not opposed to working with each other. And sometimes that's the feeling that I get with Onda Lukyu, but the fact that Remain and Klong Klang is still happening shows that they aren't opposed to working with each other. Next question. What kind of Thai GL story do you wish existed that hasn't really been made yet? Oh, that's a good question. Probably some other type of crime drama. I would like something where one person is a cop and the other person is a graffiti artist, and the two of them eventually fall in love. The graffiti artist like paints a love letter on the side of a wall and the cop finds it, something along that. I don't think that that's actually a novel. As for the novels, um, I'm not familiar with the novels really at all. I think that Rhythm by Chapelinoy would be pretty cool. It's connected to the grander universe of Chapelinoy, so I think that'd be kind of cool to see. But I haven't read it, so I honestly have no idea. But I think that the cop graffiti artist Thai GL story would be really, really fun to see. I don't know who I would cast in it, to be honest. I think that there's a lot of people that could make it work. But yeah, graffiti artist painting a love letter on the wall and the cop finds it. I think that'd be pretty cool. 7 questions right there. That went a lot quicker than I was imagining. Hopefully, I answered every question as well as I could. I'm going to try to get better at it, and I will move the questions that I didn't pick over to next week's podcast episode. So each question will be read at some point, and I want more questions. So if you're seeing this, you're hearing this, please provide me with some questions. It doesn't have to be specifically related to a Thai GL series. It can be the actresses, the fan service, the companies, anything else. And it can be as chaotic as you want. But with that said, that is all that I have for this week's episode. I'm glad that I rewatched Blank. I don't think that I will do it again. The next episode will be 23.5.